And welcome back to Music Free Static. I hope you're having a fabulous day. And, you know, a lot of you know, if you've listened to this show or might listen to me stream for a while, you know that I have sort of a loathe-hate relationship with so-called social media, okay? And again, I split things up into a couple of different categories, right? I actually like to think about social media as being places like Discord, where you can have an actual conversation. Yes, it's in text, but it's rapidly back and forth, and there's no algorithm, there's no likes necessarily, kind of, because even Discord, there are reactions and things like that. But that's sort of what I like to think of social media. And then there's creator media, which is stuff like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, right? The idea, the places where you throw up something. Maybe that's the wrong choice of words, but often that describes what ends up on those sites. But something gets uploaded, and there are comments, but it's not really designed for that type of social interaction. Okay? But the things that I really tend to dislike are those sites that are kind of straddling the line, but they're basically creator media, but they're pretending to be social media. And that's sites like X, Blue Sky, Facebook, right? Mastodon falls into this as well. Because the way they're designed, Mastodon less so, but definitely X and Facebook, where we're going to give you an algorithm that will feed you posts, it doesn't matter where they're coming from on the sites, just we're going to feed you posts, and if you don't, if the way you post something is annoying, we're going to shadow ban it to oblivion and things like that. Like X does that. If you have links in your posts, very often they'll just get shadow banned. Okay. I don't like these sites, partly because they encourage a type of discourse that I believe is ultimately bad. Okay. Because they tend to reward controversy. They award contention. They award hatred and vitriol because those get all the likes, right? You get some epic burn on a politician or an actor or whatever, and you get all the likes, and these people, start getting subscribers or followers or whatever, right? And I don't like that because it promotes the worst aspects of humanity. Okay. And, honestly, they tend to lead to shallow thoughts and arguments, right? Facebook, okay, you can write an essay in Facebook. Twitter and X, as it is now, had a fairly short character limit. It's like, was it 280 characters or something like that? Okay, you can get a good sentence out, sometimes a couple of them. But then you have to do these whole tweet threads, and it's just sort of a mess, right? And it just leads to very surface layer arguments and things like that. And I just don't like it. Aside from the fact I'm not particularly a fan of how toxic a lot of that site has been. And it has been for a long time, don't get me wrong. When I started on Twitter, it was 2008, maybe. Actually, I'm almost certain it was before that. But I joined because I was in my political activist phase. But it was a great place to jump in and talk to other people who were also politically active. Okay, not necessarily activists, but active. But we could also communicate easily with other bloggers or journalists and sometimes even politicians and stuff too. But really, it was like a big block party in some ways because you got all of these bloggers together, and hey, we could all talk and communicate, and it was fun, right? but it became too much of, oh, so and so said this, everybody go jump on him. Okay. And I saw this happen a lot with, oh, it's like Will Wheaton. Okay. Now, Will Wheaton has a well earned reputation of being a jerk. Okay. Despite Wheaton's first law of don't be a jerk, he comes across like that often, or at least he did in his posts on Twitter. Okay. I've never met the man. I have no idea what he's actually like in person. He could be fabulous, but he came across as a know-it-all and a jerk. Okay. Often, not always. And sometimes he had some good stuff. There's a reason I followed him on Twitter. But I disagreed with his politics almost across the board. Okay. And obviously so did lots of other people. It's the nature of politics. And I said, well, I disagreed with him. You know, he has every right to have his opinions. But it became almost a game. Anytime you post something political, somebody else, often Adam Baldwin from Firefly, the actor who played Jane in Firefly, who was about as diametrically opposed politically as he could be, got his followers all hyped up to go dump all over Wheaton anytime Wheaton did something. Okay, and Wheaton kind of did, not quite to the same extent, but sort of the same thing. But other people also did that same sort of thing in other directions, right? It was messy, okay? It was not good. It led to some issues. But it's a culture that has persisted to this day, okay? This is not something that started when Elon Musk bought Twitter. This has been going on for a very long time, okay? That's one of the reasons I left, right? I don't really use those sites. I mean, I don't use Twitter at all. I don't use Twitter at all because now it's X. I don't use X at all. I don't use Facebook. Once in a blue moon, I'll log into Facebook. I don't use Facebook. I have a Facebook account. Obviously, you have to for Instagram and things like that, but at least to use the business side of Instagram, okay? Because, hey, I post stuff to Instagram for music-free gaming, okay? Sure. Now, I told you that story to tell you this one. So, all of that said, I don't like all of those things about X and Twitter and Facebook and all of that stuff. But they do, they can serve a purpose, or at least that concept can serve a purpose. So let me back up and tell you a little bit about myself, okay? And trust me, this all makes sense, all right? So first off, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, okay? I have been forever, okay? Star Wars is my jam. I've at least enjoyed, and no, that's more than that. I've liked just about everything that's been put out, okay? Some more than others, right? Andor isn't as enjoyable, but it was a really good show. I liked The Acolyte, even though I had some disagreements with a couple of things, but it was still fun. Kenobi I thought was great, right? I loved Ahsoka. I mean, you can go back. I did a breakdown or a review, I guess, of every episode of Ahsoka as it dropped, because Ahsoka was one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, and right, but I can't talk about Star Wars anywhere, right? Maybe, okay, in real life sometimes, but I can't talk about Star Wars online because Star Wars fans are the worst part of Star Wars, okay? The Star Wars fan community, I'm not even sure fan is the right word. I just said put it in air quotes, right? The Star Wars fandom is toxic. And it's so bad. And honestly, the MCU fandom is trending that way, okay? When the MCU was firing on all cylinders, not a big deal. oh, you didn't like that movie, whatever, the next one's going to be awesome. Well, they've had a series of movies and even a couple of the TV shows that didn't hit as well. Okay, Secret Invasion was okay, but wasn't fabulous, and it definitely did some weird things to the story. I love She-Hulk, but I freely admit, not for everybody. Okay, it, a lot of Marvel fans, people who go to Marvel because they want CGI action comedy, right? They want the superhero movie. Okay? She-Hulk isn't that. Yes, it's a superhero story, and occasionally, yes, She-Hulk will smash, right? She and Daredevil will smash or something. I don't know, but it's a sitcom. It's a legal comedy, and it's fun. It is the from the story it tells. If as long as you go into it, it's like, yes, this is a sitcom. This isn't Hulk smashing her way through everything. It's really good, right? But man, the Marvel fandom came down on that hard before it even came out. Same with the Marvels. I've got reviews of both of those shows up on the channel, and I think there are people who just dumped on them because they're sexist jerks. But I don't know. It's really hard sometimes to talk about those things. And then on top of all of that, I am sort of politically homeless. Okay. I've talked about it before. My political views tend to run libertarian. Okay. And because of that, I've never fit in with the Democrats. It wasn't too bad with the Republican Party back in the day, but I don't fit in at all with today's Republican Party. And I love politics or policy. Maybe I'm more of a policy wonk than I don't know. But I love political theory, and I love looking at policies, and I don't necessarily love looking at policies, but I love the policies that encourage freedom and liberty and limits power and authority where it needs to be. I love all that stuff. Okay. And I'm passionate about liberty. Okay. And again, I don't want to get into a debate about it. This is not a politics show. Used to be, way back in the day. That's how Music Free Static started. This is not a show about politics. But I'm telling you this because it's very hard. I want sometimes to talk about politics with people. And yeah, I had a great conversation with my wife and my son last night, but I've talked to my wife about politics so much that, because she likes talking about it too sometimes, that it's just, we're treading water, okay? We're not talking about anything new. We're not exposed to different ideas because we've shared our own ideas with each other a lot, right? So, we've been married for 28 years, something like that. And we know each other's and our views pretty well, right? And sometimes I want to see other ideas, more ideas. And especially right now where we're dealing with a presidential election, and there's a lot of politics in the air, okay? As is often the case during a presidential election. But I felt like I've had no place to be among my own kind, okay? And it's not so much I'm seeking an echo chamber, because that's not the case. But when you're politically homeless, like, I'm not going to Republican Party rallies or meetings or whatever, or Democrat ones at all, but I wouldn't have been doing that anyway. But I'm not going to these things, and I'm not having a chance to realize I'm not alone. Okay. And this is sort of an important concept, I think, for a lot of people, right? Yeah, realize that, hey, I have a tribe out there somewhere, right? It's like when you discover you love anime, right? Maybe you just found an episode of something somewhere, right? You picked up Sword Art Online, or maybe you're old school and you saw Voltron back in the day. This is me. I saw Voltron and thought, oh, this is an amazing show. It's serialized storytelling. There are actual consequences and stakes for the actions of people here, and the story was fabulous. I had nobody to talk about it with. I didn't even know it was special, right? But you find something like this, and who do I talk about it with? Who do I share my excitement? How do I learn more about other shows, right? I mean, I can't remember where I heard about Sword Art Online, but I went and watched it, and it is, okay, the show has its ups and downs, but it was really good. I was like, man, how do I find out more about these things that I like, right? And often a site like well, like Discord perhaps, but how do you find the Discords to talk to? Right, a site like X or Mastodon or Blue Sky could potentially be that sort of place. Now, Mastodon especially, because it's instant servers. Yes, they're all federated, but you can go to a server that has a focus on art or anime or LGBTQ issues or whatever you want, and those are the first things that you see. But because it's federated, you can get stuff from all over the place, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. I want to connect with some people, some like-minded people, just to have that feeling that I'm not alone, right? Now, I'm not going to get that on Blue Sky. I tried. I can't stand Blue Sky. The app is fine, but so many of the people on Blue Sky are people who fled Twitter because they don't like Musk's politics. And so I'm drowning. Yeah, every time I pull up Blue Sky, I'm drowning in politics that are, one, I disagree with, and two, are intentionally inflammatory and contentious, right? Mastodon falls into that same sort of boat, partly because it was there earlier. A lot of the people who first left Twitter before the rename found Mastodon, and the rest ended up on Blue Sky. But it is, again, deeply divisive. Now, if you are hardcore into progressive leftist politics, maybe you'll feel right at home. I am not, okay? I already said it. This is not me. So I said I tried, but I couldn't stand more than about 5 or 10 minutes of, hey, what's trending? Because how do you find people to follow? Well, you hit the trending tab or something like that, and it's like, oh yeah, here's what people are talking about, or you follow a hashtag. But it's all so rough. Okay, so what do I do? Well, I go back to a network that I've talked about in the past, a network called nostr. Now, nostr tends to fly under the radar because, one, it's been around forever, but it is a very decentralized system. In some ways, it's like Mastodon, where you can set up your own server and you and your friends can connect to it and talk to each other. But it's also federated so that you can connect to other relays and start seeing messages from other systems. Okay, very cool. But it is a system that is not governed. Maybe that's not quite the right word, because it is a protocol more than anything else. And the protocol is developed in the open with developers and through protocol submissions and all of that stuff. Okay. And you can build a lot of things on nostr. A social network is definitely one of those things. Okay. But nostr is a much smaller ecosystem. Okay. There just aren't that as many people on it, right? But it's a place where I've, at least from in my experience, there's been a lot more connection versus contention. Okay. And what I mean by that is more people are trying to connect, to share ideas and to build connections with each other, build relationships, friendships, intellectual partnerships, just a place to share ideas and connect and all of that, as opposed to a network based off contention where it's the highest, most inflammatory post gets liked and upvoted and whatever through the roof, and you're rewarded for being contentious. Okay. And that's one of the things I don't like about X. It's one of the things I don't like about Facebook. It's one of the things I haven't liked about Blue Sky. Though said Blue Sky is more the people who I have a problem with, as less than the platform. Because honestly, I haven't been on the platform enough. It's just like, oh, I've walked into a room and I don't want to be with any of these people right now. Now, that said, okay, as much as I love nostr, there are crazy and wackadoodles there, just like there are on every platform, okay? One of the reasons nostr exists is you had a bunch of Bitcoin bros looking for a place where they could talk Bitcoin because they kept getting censored on other platforms, okay? And honestly, Bitcoin bros have a very independent streak, all right? Because, I mean, that's one of the reasons they get into Bitcoin is they get, at least the stated reasons, is they want to be independent of everything, okay? So there is that strong bent running through a lot of the people. And said a lot of where Nostr's roots are from that community. Okay. If you're not into Bitcoin, it's not a problem. Okay. Yes, if you pull up an app and it has a trending tab, you'll probably see some Bitcoin posts and stuff. But for the most part, well, no, I was not going to say for the most part, it's not Bitcoin. There's a lot of discussion about that. But there's a lot of discussion about lots of things on there. And as I said, it tends to be a more connective network. So I've been going back to nostr as a place to connect with others and hear other ideas, right? And again, part of the reason I'm here is because I am so politically homeless. I'm looking for my tribe of libertarians, right? I'm looking for a place of, again, it's not like I'm necessarily looking for the echo chamber. I just don't want to feel like I'm alone in the wilderness, because I know I'm not. And now it's helped. I've found a couple of podcasts and stuff that I listen to that talk about some different ideas and different people, and I like the philosophy, right? And maybe that's just a weird way of putting it, but I like the philosophy. I like the intellectualism. The ideas. These are things we have thought about seriously, and we've looked at the effects of different policies. We've looked at the effects on people and families and countries, and we have deep philosophical ideas and centered ideals on certain things. And how does that play out? And that's fabulous to hear, right? Different perspectives and different thoughts and different approaches to things, right? And that's what I'm getting on nostr. Okay. And it's not something I get anywhere else. Okay. Which is, it's great. Now, that's not to say that I said nostr is perfect. Like I said, it's got its share of crazies and wackadoodles. Okay. It does, right? But for the most part, they're kind of off on the side, right? Now, nostr does have some issues. It's a little bit harder to use, okay? Because it doesn't have a centralized system at all, right? The thing with all of those other creator media disguised as social media sites, right? X and Blue Sky and Mastodon, is who you are depends on which service you sign up with. Okay. Now, Blue Sky is the first on what is supposed to be a federated network, but it's the only one there right now. So it's hard to say the federation actually does any good. Mastodon is a federated network, and that's great. But when you sign up for an account, you're signing up at a particular node, right? So if you sign up at mastodon.social, you are, right? Like I actually have an account on Pearl Stalker at mastodon.social. And that's fine. But what if that node shuts down? Okay. Or what if I just tick off the node operator in some way, right? They decide they want to purge all Minecraft players. All right, well, fine. I can still connect to the Mastodon network. I still talk to the people that I've followed or friended or whatever. I just have to do it somewhere else. And I'm no longer Pearl Stalker at mastodon.social. I'm Pearl Stalker at some other mastodon.com or whatever, right? And then, so all of my friends they have to reconnect to me. So you still have a little bit of that centralized control. Nostr doesn't do that. With Nostr, you build a key pair. You have a public key and you have a private key, and they're long and ridiculous and they're stupid. But those keys identify you. And you can connect to any Mastodon relay anywhere, and that's who you are. Now, you can set that up in a friendly username, right? Surprisingly enough, I am Pearl Stalker, right? But usernames are not unique. Your npub is unique, but there's also a way of verifying who you are, right? Which is a little bit technically involved, right? And now there are sites that make that easier. And what's cool, even if you sign up with one of those sites and, okay, yes, I'm Pearl Stalker at Albi or at Primal or at whatever these different sites are, that user at whatever it's a friendly name, really. That's all it is. Makes it a little bit nicer to deal with than this ridiculously long cryptographic string that actually identifies who you are. And if you go somewhere else, all of that, who you are, your username doesn't change. Username, right? Who you are doesn't change, which is great. Okay, and you can set up multiple accounts, I guess, if you want to think about it that way. But it's fine, right? You can do that instead. If you want to connect to different relays, a relay shuts down, you want to run your own, whatever, you are still you. Okay. And that's great. I love that. And I've spent a bunch of time here lately trying to find different apps that I like to use. trying to find a good desktop app, browser based or something. Um, and so the technology there is kind of fun, but it's nice to find a one of those sort of creator social hybrids that actually falls more into the social side. And so, yeah, Nostr's been great. Now, I'm not on Nostr all the time. I still don't post very often because I have other platforms to talk about things. I have a podcast. I stream. I chat about things in Discord. But for various reasons, I don't talk about politics on any of those things, other than at a very high level. Okay, like I said, I told you I'm libertarian. I don't fit at home with the Democrats or Republicans. Is that a political statement? Sure. I'm not talking about deep policy or things because I don't want to bring the political contention into my communities. Sometimes I do want to talk about that stuff, and that's kind of where I fall over on Nostr. But even there, I'm not going crazy. I'm certainly not jumping on the Harris is horrible or Trump is horrible or RFK is a horrible and a quitter. Right? I'm not jumping on this, doing any of those types of things, right? Because I don't want to talk about people. I want to talk about ideas and policies and philosophies and I'm finding that on Nostr in a way that I could never find on any other social network. Okay, Nostr is very conducive to that sort of thing, and I like it. Okay, now I haven't yet jumped in to check out Star Wars. Right, the Minecraft community is somewhat limited. Okay, partly because hey, this Nostr is not loaded up with children. Okay, who or content creators like me who spend their adult life playing Minecraft. Yeah. But it's starting, and I'm thinking I may want to post some more stuff there. I don't know, but it's been really nice. Okay, it's been a nice place to sit and okay, I can listen and I can read these posts, sometimes longer posts from this economist, and it's like okay, here's what's going on here, and I can read these posts by Jack Dorsey, the former owner CEO of Twitter, who started Blue Sky, but is really spending a lot of time on Nostr because he likes that decentralized philosophy. And so seeing some of his tech comments and a few other tech people, Nostr has become that sort of network for me. And it's great. Again, it's not perfect. I've talked about some of the other issues in the past. You can find those elsewhere in the podcast feed, but it's been nice. And I'm not saying all of you need to go on to Nostr. If you do, I'll put my npub in the description. I should be easy to find. You can search for that. Pearl Stalker at musicfreegaming.com. I've got my little Minecraft avatar up there, for my PFP, right? So I'm easy to find. But it's been nice. So I guess maybe I'll just leave it there with the suggestion, maybe not necessarily to check out Nostr, though I think people should. But they thought that the idea that it's okay to go find your community, and it's okay to not find that community where everybody else is. It's okay to not find that community on X. Heck, if I could wipe out all of my tweets and all of my follower list and start over on X, I might, but probably not. Because Nostr is a lot of what I want, and I love it. So I've rambled on for a long time. Thank you all for listening. Again, if you want to connect on Nostr, my npub is in the description. Of course, like the podcast or rate it or whatever your platform does. And we can also talk over in the Discord because that's awesome too. And until next time, this is Music Free Static signing off.